Hey, welcome back, everyone, to the Fantasy Football Show. It's your host, the Crooked Commish. Thanks for joining us. If you guys are here for Fantasy Football, which I'm assuming you are, please hit that thumbs up and share our podcast so we can reach more people and stuff. We really would appreciate that. So, with tonight's show, the main topic we're going to talk about here is the rookie wide receivers and how they're going to adapt with the NFL and where we would feel comfortable picking them in the fantasy football drafts. So I do have a co-host here with me tonight as well. So we'll go back and forth and kind of give our opinions on where we think these guys should go and kind of how they compare to the top NFL vets that are already been established in this league. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get this show on the road. Hey, so everyone, curious, how many mock drafts are you guys doing right now? How many do you usually do before you feel comfortable for like the actual draft? So put in the comments, let me know. I know so far I've at least done about 5 or so. And even though it's way early and whatnot, you just can't help yourself sometimes. You just got to get in there and kind of get the bugs out and kind of get a feel for where these guys are going and stuff. So let me go ahead and bring in my my guest here, known as the Mouth here. And our
How you doing? How's everybody doing here, man? Glad to be here.
Thanks for coming on, Mouth. So as everyone can tell, you're part of the Nainer gangbang, so there's no mystery as far as who you cheer for when the football season starts.
Always, yep. I mean, we're about to get this, mission completed this year. It was a hard loss, but you win some, you lose some. Just losing a lot too many lately.
Yeah, well, you guys definitely kept. So far, it seems like you kept most of your weapons from last year, and then added even a few more wide receivers. So
yeah, I had an interesting draft. I ain't gonna lie, I wasn't thrilled, but you never know. I gotta go with the brain trust. They've done pretty dang good job the past few years of keeping us relevant. So can't sit there and start talking smack about it now because we're always this that one year that we had a bunch of injuries. Other than that, we've been pretty much in the thick of things. And it's all you can ask for is a shot. So you gotta get away from freaking Patrick Mahomes.
I hear you.
Gotta kind of start seeing him in the Super Bowl. That guy's pissing me off.
He's pissing a lot of people off. But
Yeah, he really is.
The one thing about the fan base, though, is they do keep receipts. So as long as these players that they draft hit, there's no issues. Because, I mean, just like going back to the Trey Lance situation with you guys. If you didn't draft Purdy at the end, that whole situation would have been a lot different.
To be honest, like the fact that Lynch and Shanahan got extensions after absolutely destroying that draft and the debacle of trading up to get Trey Lance and then somehow just absolutely missing on that guy with everybody else that came in that draft as well. I mean, that draft class really hasn't done a whole lot anyway, but you don't give up a bunch of future first round picks and keep your job. So
right.
Mr. Relevant came in and became Mr. Relevant. I just wish somebody would actually give this kid some kudos and some actual little bit of love and give him flowers because all he does is go in there and just make plays, and it's not a system. Everybody wants to say he's dinking and dunking and doing stuff. If they still believe that, they ain't watching damn tape. They ain't watching the football games. They ain't paying attention to nothing because this guy's dropping dimes 30 yards down the field, and You know,
I hear
it's
you.
in his first 2 years, he's done something that Joe Burrow did. He went to the Super Bowl and he went to the NFC Championship game or AFC Championship game with Joe Burrow, and they touted him as like the it guy. But he was a first overall pick, and Brock Purdy was the last overall pick. So I don't know what else he has to do to kind of give himself a little bit more, you know,
Well,
a
let me
little bit
ask you,
more love.
what would you feel comfortable with having Purdy? And maybe it's going to be easier for you to say yes, though, is having Purdy be your number one QB fantasy quarterback, like leading your team, or would you still want? Would you want
I
like
had
a
him last
full?
year. I had him last year. I had him last year on my team. Last year he
Okay,
was
and
on
he,
my team. I got him in a trade. So yeah, and I had him. I had him for about 5 6 weeks where he was making that run where he had like 300 yards and like 2 or 3 touchdowns like every week. So I mean, he was
okay,
giving me 25 to 30 points like almost every week. So yeah, I had no problem with him being on my roster because I mean, only thing that kind of did suck is that McCaffrey would kind of vulture a touchdown here and there. But I had him on my fantasy gig too. So I mean, they worked out. So like, if it wasn't Brock Purdy getting me some points, it was McCaffrey. So, but yeah, I
all
mean, I,
right,
I would definitely, I mean, I wouldn't draft him in like in the fourth round like some of our other friends have done, but in the in previous Drew Brees or Tom Brady type of thing. But yeah, I wouldn't be upset to have him as my QB1.
okay. Well, last week I was talking about the rookie quarterbacks that got drafted in the first round of 6 quarterbacks there, and I kind of went over and gave my opinion as far as how I think they would do, and as far as would you feel comfortable with any of the rookie quarterbacks leading your way, or would you want them to be your backup to of someone like a Brock Purdy, whatnot? As far as like the
Um, I kind of feel like, I mean, obviously the first three. I don't. I think Drake May has no help in in,
okay,
in New England right now, so he wouldn't be a viable option in any fantasy league. I mean, for any reason until they actually get some weaponry and just anything kind of for him. I think it's going to be another tough season for New England. I think that both Washington and Chicago got bright futures coming up. I think they both did very well with the quarterbacks that they did draft, and they both have weapons on the outside and running game. So in fantasy league, when it comes to it, I think they can put up some decent numbers. I just I think that anybody else besides that, like whoever's got drafted, whatever they're at, they're going to be a work in progress. So I wouldn't put no stock in any other rookie coming up and actually making any kind of impact besides the first two. And
okay, with
I
Jaden
think I
Daniels
think
and
yeah,
Caleb.
between Janet Daniels and Caleb Williams, I think that I mean obviously Chicago went and upgraded the whole offense as much as they possibly could.
Right.
If Moore and Keenan Allen stay healthy, that's a hell of a 1-2 punch. And a Cole Command, and then you know with the running game, I think he could have a decent year. Somewhere between 20 to 25 touchdowns, maybe run for a few. I think Jaden Daniels is more along the lines of a Lamar Jackson type of player, where he probably will
Okay.
do more with his legs and have more impact that way. And
Okay.
maybe be in like the 15 to 20 touchdown range with the 5 to 8, kind of like a Kyler Murray when he came out. He's gonna take some touchdowns away from some of his running backs. So, but I
I think
I
I
don't think I don't see them sustaining that type of thing like the whole year. Like I think they have good games where they might give you a 25, 30 point type of thing, and then they're gonna have like 14 or 15 point games. So I wouldn't bank on those guys to like bring you home if you're that Monday night game and you need someone to blow up. I mean, you're gonna flip a coin on that one depending on the matchup.
yeah, I was about to say you're gonna probably have to play the matchups with these rookie guys more
Yeah,
often than not.
exactly.
So I think someone who could be like one of Jaden Daniels' lifesavers is Eckler. So especially if
Absolutely,
he can stay
absolutely.
healthy.
Yeah, I mean, if he's already shown he's a touchdown magnet. I mean, that guy just finds the end zone. I mean, last year wasn't a great year for him, but for the past 3 4 years, that guy's always done is found the end zone. He might not give you like all the crazy yards and everything behind it, but he still can. I believe he still can. It's just I think he was injured last year, and he didn't have the same productive year that he's shown to have. He's a little bit older, but that's another guy who can give you. 2 or 3 touchdowns and get you 18, 19, 20 points on any given Sunday.
Yeah, and plus he catches passes too, which is way valuable in PPR.
Absolutely, especially with Caleb Williams and something like that. Like you want to check down. You know what I mean? Like same thing with Jaden Daniels said. You want to check down. You want someone that you can outlet to, and then that also comes to like the footwork and the happy feet, because going from a possible touchdown and hitting them in the hands to throwing to their feet and kicking a field goal. Which, unless you have the damn field goal kicker on your fantasy league, you don't want that. You want that guy to get you a touchdown. If it's wide open and you throw him at your feet, it's always a kick in the ass to know that was a touchdown. You missed it. You left. I mean, if it's your team too on top of it, you just lost points. But then if you're fantasy league and then you lose by 3 or 4 points, it's like, motherfucker, that shit should have happened right there. That was my win. So, like that,
it
that
does
absolutely
become very
sucked.
demoralizing.
Yeah, because like, dude, if you would have caught that pass, I would have won by 3 or 4 points instead of losing by 3 or 4 points.
Right.
And it happens with every quarterback, but it always seems to happen a lot more with these young ones, especially when they're coming out highly top. I mean, they're coming out with a lot of steam. Both top 2 quarterbacks, even Drake May's coming out with a lot of steam. I'm gonna hold my opinion for Drake May for a year or two before you see what he can do. I mean,
okay.
You seen what his predecessor did. He had a great rookie season and came out, and now he's no longer there. So
True. Mac Jones, after his rookie season, everyone thought that New England found.
They thought they found it. Yeah, they thought they found the next guy, and I mean, that's unfortunate because they didn't give him no help. But they kind of destroyed that kid. So hopefully he finds somewhere else to go and he maybe becomes something like that. Because in that same draft when we got Trey Jones, they were saying that we should have went and got Mac Jones.
Gotcha.
Or Trey Lance, I'm sorry. And like neither one of them panned out. So
right, and it's funny how that happens as far as everybody's opinion on draft day and how quickly it can change, like within a year or two. It's kind of one of those things where you look back at a relationship and an ex of yours, and you're like, "What what was I thinking? Like, why was I with that person?" So you may be looking at your opinions in a year or two and being like, "Jesus Christ, why did I say that?"
Yeah, you know what it was? It was this. That's what it was.
So
she looked good from afar, just like these guys look good from afar. They did all the measurements, did everything. Mac Jones looked good at Alabama, winning national championships and doing it.
Blackman.
Yeah, exactly. Like these guys, they look good. You look good at D2 school when you're throwing to wide open people, and all of a sudden you got to throw someone open, and then they're not able to do it. Gotta hit a window.
You see the warts when you get up close.
Yeah, exactly. When the lights turn on and you see what you were talking to all night, then you realize, damn it, the hell.
All right, well, let's get into these next upcoming rookie wide receivers here. Out of the ones that were drafted in the first round, and there was quite a bit, which one do you think will have the biggest or fastest fantasy impact? Let me just run them through just so you know here. The Marvin Harrison Jr. With the Cardinals, Malik Neighbors with the Giants, Rome Odunze with the Bears. We got Brian Thompson Jr. with the Jaguars, Xavier Worthy and that with the Chiefs, and then your team with one of the last ones, Ricky Parcell, and then the last pick was Xavier. Is it Leggett from South Carolina? So those are the ones there that were drafted in the first round. Any of those names, as far as maybe where they landed at and stuff, that you kind of like better than most than the others?
I mean, if you're gonna, I might stash Neighbors. I mean, like only problem like some of these guys. These guys went to teams where they already got established wide receivers in front of them. So fantasy league wise, it's hard to say this guy might step in, step out. Like if Keenan Allen or DJ Moore goes down, then I could absolutely see, the rookie stepping in there and becoming like a go-to guy and having once again a couple matchups. Like having a couple good games. You have 5 or 6 receptions for 120 and a touchdown. Which when you get a rookie in there, that's all you want him to do. You want to give him 15 to like 22 points, and just give you a solid outing, just give you a chance to win the league, win that week. You don't want to put someone in there you think will have a good matchup and give you 3 points. So
yeah, those are brutal days.
Those are brutal days. And you're like, I got the matchup. I did the homework. I figured that this would be a good week for him. And they come in, and then someone like plays out of nowhere. But like, it was a game time matchup. And this just sucks when, like me, I used to work on Sunday, so I had to like last second find out who was going to play, who wasn't going to play, and he used to piss me off because there was times I didn't pay attention. And someone who wasn't supposed to be in there was like, damn it, now I'm running with the guy who's going to give me a big old donut.
Right, the game time decision guys.
Exactly. So I think all these rookies. Obviously, I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is probably the only viable option. You could probably say that I'm gonna start him every week if you were gonna draft someone like that, which I'm sure people are gonna do a reach, because Kyler Murray's still, I think, a decent quarterback. I think he's a top 15 quarterback. I don't think he's a top 5 like he was in a few years ago, or even a top 10 anymore. He needs to prove that he can stay healthy and that he can not only start a season hot but stay like that consistent at the end of the year. That's what got his coach fired, is that they would have great first half of the seasons, and then they would fall off so bad the last 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks. The offense would not be the same. I think a lot of it because Kyler Murray just got worn down. I think he ran him too much. I think they put too much on his shoulders, and now they're getting rid of Hollywood Brown and all the other weapons that they did lose on the outside. I think most of it's going to get force fed to Marvin Harrison Jr., which obviously they should. But eventually, you already know in NFL defensive coordinators are only going to let that last for a few weeks, and then they start rolling coverages and bump coverages and throwing different things at him, which I'm sure he has a pedigree from his dad, who's probably showing him different routes and stuff like that, which I think you can still get his numbers. Mm-hmm. But you can only throw 15 times at a kid every week before the offense just stalls.
Right. And I think that's one of the things that his biggest appeal, Harrison Jr.'s, is that he will be force-fed a lot. And just the sheer volume that's going to come his way will make it very, very appealing. Let's see. Here's a comment. Oh, hey, good evening, Matt. Thanks for joining us. What are your guys' opinion out there as well? Is there anybody that you would feel comfortable drafting maybe within the first 5 rounds of these rookie receivers, or sneaky ones in the later rounds that you guys maybe will do good? So Harrison Jr., like I said, I think is one, just because there's really not too many options there. I think then his next best option there is the tight end McBride, as far as receivers.
Yeah, he doesn't have a whole lot to throw to. So I do believe that he's going to get fed a lot, and they didn't draft him that high to not give the kid the ball. He's going to get the ball. Right. He's going to be around 90 receptions, 1,100, 1,200 yards. Where he finds the end zone or not to make it valuable for your fantasy league, that's going to be different. You don't know how much he's going to actually find the end zone, because we all know that you can have that 7 or 8 reception with 100 yards and be around 18 points, but when you get one or two touchdowns, that makes that day so much better.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Now, here's a question, and for everybody in the chat too, let me know what you think. Do you think Harrison Jr., and it may not be him, but do you think besides him, is there going to be any other rookie wide receivers that breaks the 1,000-yard mark for the season? Can you see that with Neighbors? Could you see that with the Dunze or Xavier Worthy with the Chiefs? Because Xavier Worthy is one of those guys.
It's like Xavier Worthy. It's like he could be interesting because Rashid Weiss got off the field trouble. So if he gets suspended for any amount of time, or any other reason that he gets put off or whatever, you never know what it's like. And he broke out last year for the Chiefs, and it was a great weapon the last 9-10 weeks.
What are you talking about?
Rashid Weiss. Yeah, Rashid Weiss.
Yes.
So I can see Xavier Worthy if Rice misses any time for any reason, or going in there, it just makes it just makes that team so much more dangerous to have someone else who can obviously do a lot of things that he can do, and go out there and spread the field and do things. As Mahomes is someone that obviously we've seen for over years who will extend the play, look down the field, and they haven't anybody that can really pop the top off since they lost Tyreek Hill. That
Right. Right.
so it's to have someone that can actually go down the field and do things, and with Rasheed Rice if he's healthy and doing things and able to play because he's don't be a knucklehead and and try to race people like an idiot. So
He was trying to get to the stadium. He was racing his friends to see who gets to the
well,
stadium.
I guess he was trying to run away from a bar tab or something because he was definitely drunk. And,
Yeah.
doing something stupid, but you can't stop a knucklehead young kid with a lot of money in his hand who just won a Super Bowl from out there in the offseason doing dumb things. So, hopefully it gets his act together and hopefully not for me because I would like to actually win a Super Bowl, but not see the Chiefs. But, when it comes to it, they got another, top end, but even with Hollywood Brown out there too. So you never know. They got speedsters that are capable of spreading the field that they haven't had in a few years. So he's someone that is interesting, in my opinion, that can do different things and get a lot of touches. But that's the one thing Mahomes likes to spread the ball around. So when it comes to fantasy league, it kind of sucks because you don't know how much opportunity he's actually going to get. And a lot of teams upgraded at the receiver end that didn't have a receiver like a solid core group. Where they have two or three guys that are veterans on there. The Titans went and got Bernard Hopkins and
Ridley.
Ridley, yeah, from Jacksonville. So that's something that they didn't have in that locker room last year. So I mean, you gotta think about a lot of teams went and added stuff. I mean, my team, like they went and got Ricky Pearsall, not knowing what's going to happen with Brandon Ayuk. If he decides to hold out, that could change a lot of things for our team because that's somebody that was an absolute precision route runner that had a great rapport with Brock Purdy, and he was someone that had a career year last year, had all these catches of over 1,300 yards, all the touchdowns that he had. And Ricky Pearsall kind of fits the mold that Shanahan likes to have, with to do Swiss Army knife type of person, do multiple things and everything that he can do with the football in his hands and run the routes and do things. So that's also someone that's interesting because you never know what's going to happen with off the field issues. Once again, Brandon Ayuk still hasn't signed yet, so the Niners are might be looking for a number one wide receiver, and I don't 100% believe that that's Debo. Debo, he makes the team different when he's in there because of physicality and everything he does, but he's not someone that I'm going to say that is 3-12 and we're going to throw him seam route. I can see that with Brandon Ayuk. Now we'll see if that happens with Ricky Pearsall. I don't know.
But the thing with Debo does, instead of doing that, like he's good at the jet sweep stuff, which you really don't see Ayuk do. So it's kind of like one guy's better with running the seams.
Exactly. They have separate skill sets that fit what they need, and we'll see if Ricky Pearsall can fit that if Brandon Ayuk decides to sit out for any significant time during this season. I mean, I don't want to see that happen, but you never know.
Yeah, business is business. Would you say it's safe to kind of say Purcell's? It's hard to really look at drafting him unless one of those guys either gets traded or there's a holdout. Because if they both, with Ayuk and Debo being on the team, where does Ricky even fall into that lineup then at that point? Especially
and that's something that I questioned even on draft day. I told you that. I'm like, I didn't understand that. They just re-signed Quan Jennings. You know what I mean? It was a solid number 3. I mean, he's starting Quan for a reason. That guy's comes up in big time. And Brandon Ayuk's the first and second down guy. You got so many weapons, Kittles and McCaffrey. That's obviously going to take touches. So that's why I'm saying it's hard to see him having any kind of real impact if they didn't think that they were going to have trouble with Brandon Ayuk, because from what I'm hearing, he wants to get CD Lamb money. He wants to get that $30 million a year, which I'm hoping he would take a little 22, 23 and save some money on the table with some incentives and give him more upfront money. But he might just stay out for a while, and if that happens, then it opens up an opportunity for someone else because that team is still loaded. Even if they lose Brandon Ayuk for any significant time because he doesn't want to come play, Ricky Pearsall becomes someone that can do multiple things and everybody else, and that just brings in Christian McCaffrey and Kittles to become more of a pass options. So we'll see how that works out down the line, because I do think that they have one more year with Brock Purdy on a rookie contract. So I think they're still trying to put all the eggs in one basket and let's go get it. And one more year, because once he has to get paid, obviously that defense is highly paid. The offense is highly paid. You got between George Kittle's, Fred Warner, Trent Williams, like all these guys are either at the top or at the very top of being one of the top paid people in their positions. So you can't sustain that for any amount of time, which they've done for the past 4 or 5 years, because they having the results to win a Super Bowl.
All right.
So I mean, they're gonna have to get younger, because these guys are all relatively young, but now they're getting the wrong
Coming up
side
to
of
the
20.
second contract.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
still
well,
getting the wrong side of 20, and so you got to decide who you want to keep in their
gonna pay.
30s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who's going to get paid in their 30s? Who's going to stay relevant? Is Debo going to be able to keep playing the same style of football that he's playing at 31, 32 that he's playing right now? Obviously Kittles is getting a little older, so you got to decide if you're going to pay him. You got to.
Right.
It's tough decisions, because these are great football players on a great team who are beloved in the as Niners, and who probably will have their numbers retired somewhere on the Ring of Honor somewhere someday. So it's hard to push people out and make tough decisions.
Yeah, no, I agree. I have a feeling, as a Bears fan, I have a feeling that at the tail end of Kittle's career, he's going to end up with Chicago. So, I mean, just
you hope so. You hope so.
Well, I don't even know how effective he'll be. I'm not sure how much gas he may come to our team to just collect a paycheck and.
No, that's the type of guy that his athleticism is built on I just want to punch you in the face. So I mean, you don't lose that no matter how old you get. I mean, Jason Witten played. Yeah, but Jason Witten played. He's like one of those guys. He's a Jason Witten, Jay Novacek. He's just one of those guys that just dirty, knock him down on their butt, and like Gronk. You know what I mean? That guy was probably walking around on one leg playing football in Tampa Bay, but he rooted to the Super Bowl. So I see him in that same type of ilk. You don't put a tight end on an edge rusher that everybody knows is prolific and watch him pancake someone. So
right. Well,
he's more of a different pass catcher, that's for sure.
No, I mean he's a future Hall of Famer, Kittles. I mean he's great. So that's why I'm just saying, if it does happen, I hope he does still have some gas left in this tank, because him being for Chicago, he's been let it known that he's been a Bears fan, or was a Bears fan as a kid. So that's just one of those things where I know he wouldn't be opposed to it if it came down to where, you guys couldn't afford him anymore.
I mean, it's one of those where eventually the next few years there's going to be a lot of tough decisions going to be made. So
yeah. Yep. So let's move on to the next guy here. What do you think of Brian Thomas, that got drafted by the Jaguars at 23, came from out of LSU, 6'3", 209 pounds. He was, I think, one of Jaden Daniels' favorite guy besides Neighbors.
He was. So. Yeah, he was. I think once again, I think that's why I brought Jacksonville up earlier about that, because they went and got a locker room full of wide receivers that are established. So I mean. He's maybe he might be a third wide receiver. He might be a fourth one. I see him at this point as more of a special teams type of person, tries to get on the field, and if he does that and gets some time to show what he can do here and there, if one of those guys does it. The good thing is that those other guys don't like to stay healthy. So Ridley likes to get hurt. Bernard Hopkins likes to get hurt. So
Ridley's gone. That you're talking about Tennessee there.
I'm from Tennessee. I'm sorry.
Who's in front of him is Christian Kirk and Zay Jones.
Christian Kirk, that's I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, once again, I'm sorry. I got those mixed up, but I mean,
but you're right. Kirk does have an injury history.
But those guys are also established though. Like, and Zay Jones was coming on last year when Christian Kirk got hurt and everything else there. So, I mean, that's one of those things where he might have opportunity, because those guys don't like to stay healthy. So, I mean, he's someone that I would, obviously. Keep an eye on when it comes to fantasy league, and to think about maybe in week 5 or 6, because coming out of training camp, you might light it up, and they might do some 3 wide receiver stuff and things like that. And obviously, this is becoming a year where everybody wants to see Trevor Lawrence actually do something.
Do you believe in him? Do you believe Trevor Lawrence is that guy, or do you think the jury's still out on him?
I think the jury's still got to be out. You know what I mean? He's never really had a breakout season yet, and that division is sneakily got better, like gotten good.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
Houston
Houston.
has made a lot. Houston made a lot of improvements over last year, where they were out of nowhere, sneaky good team. I think
Good team.
Indianapolis. I think if Indianapolis stays healthy, like Anthony Richards, like they had something with them for a little while.
Mhm.
So I think that's somebody else that you got to pay attention to, and then see that they're gonna be a tough out. But I think that he's a kid that you would look at for a few weeks and pay attention to, only because Christian Kirk is going to dominate the ball. He's I think they're legit number one, and Zayd, is someone you got to pay attention to because he did finish pretty strong last year. And
So,
then,
like in a keeper league, would you take a chance? Like if it's Zay Jones and Brian Thomas there, at 8 or 9, whatever, would you feel
I, I
comfortable?
I would take him at that point. Like if somebody that would be like a stash pick
Yeah,
at that point.
yeah.
Is that absolutely if someone be like in a keeper league that um was still there around the 8 to the 10th round, and I'd already drafted a few wide receivers that I was comfortable with starting every week, and
Mhm.
I would definitely put him on the bench and have him sit there for a little bit, and you never know, because once again these
Yeah.
guys are
Injuries happen too. Yeah, like you said.
injuries happen, and with Trevor Lawrence, they obviously want to throw the ball. They obviously want to go down the field and push the field, and the more he gets to throw the ball, the more opportunities, the more balls will go around. That's just only going to help him. So I think he's in a good situation when it comes to like just surprising people, because
Okay.
I think he was like you said, I think he was one of Jane Daniels' favorite targets last year. He just didn't get as much fanfare as Neighbors, because Neighbors was always on Sports Center getting all the touchdowns 50 yards down the field. So
Yeah.
but he was consistent with what he was doing, and Jaden Daniels doesn't win a Heisman without him either. So
Very true. Very true. So, uh, the last receiver that was picked in the first round was uh, what do you call Xavier Leggett from the Panthers, and it's kind of hard to get excited about anybody from the Panthers, really, especially it's not like
yeah,
Young didn't look super good. So
he looked horrible. He looked lost, and he looked like his size, and that's unfortunate because like he had a big ass offensive line in front of him protecting him, and he
right.
had weapons all around, and he was able to sling it, like not people open, but throw it down the field to people that were you know that no one around him. So
Well, his
it's easy. It was easy to look good when you're no one's around your wide receiver. So and the Carolina, they got rid of DJ Moore, they got rid of McCaffrey, so they didn't do that kid any favors.
I
Like
know his leading guy was an aging Adam Thielen.
exactly.
And Thielen had a decent year just from catches, like volume alone. But as far as this kid's competition, Leggett's competition here, there's really not much in front of him as well.
No, I
So
mean, so I
that's
mean, like
great,
he's
but
someone that might have a breakout year, only because once again, it's kind of like Marvin Harrison Jr. There's no one else to throw to. The only problem is they need to make sure they can keep Bryce Young upright and keep him
right.
healthy for a full year. If he comes back and he, puts on some weight and kind of
They need
just
to
gets
give him
any
some
kind of,
stilts.
I'm saying, it's like get him any kind of
Like he
help.
needs to look over the offensive line.
Like that's the problem. Like give him some Hummer Munster shoes and get him a little, 2-3 inches taller. Because
Some
right now, like
stilettos or
I think
something. I don't know.
I'm telling you right now, I think we look eye to eye. Yeah, I'm not looking over guys that are 6'6" on my offensive line. So like, how you gonna see anybody running down the field? When you're already on your back in like 2.2 seconds. It's because
Right.
no one's blocking for this kid either. You know what I mean? So it makes it even that much worse, because
And he was never much
Carolina,
of a scrambler.
no, and exactly, he was a pocket passer at Alabama, and so he wasn't someone that like a Jalen Daniels. I think this stuff breaks down for him in Washington. I think he can still make stuff happen, and he has enough weapons on the outside that can get open. If Bryce Young gets on the outside, I think he's going to get killed by a linebacker. So and that's just the way it is right now. I think them giving away that first round that first round pick was, I mean, just death. Like their owner. I mean, there's any way that a few years ago, Jed York was like, you can't fire the owner, but I'm pretty sure everybody in Carolina is trying to fire the owner right now. Like, it's like, can you
Yeah,
trade?
I'm
Can you
sure
trade
that's a
owners?
petition.
Can you fire owners right now? Because that guy is a train wreck, and right now Carolina is. I mean, like if they could do like an XFL thing with how they used to want to do, the winner of their championship comes into the NFL and the loser, the last team gets kicked out. I think Carolina would be out for like 4 or 5 years. There just haven't been a well-run organization for a while.
Yeah, ever since
I
the
don't
new
see.
owner came in, yeah, it's definitely been going downhill. It started to slowly go downhill, and now it's like taking a steep nosedive. So, I mean, I
Yes.
thought he may probably be the next new like most hated owner. Before a while back it was Brian, the Washington owner. What was his
Daniel
name?
Snyder. Daniel Snyder was
Daniel
Daniel
Snyder,
Snyder.
yes. So now I think this Carolina owner's kind of telling him to hold my beer real quick and
Yeah, he definitely. Oh, he's like, wait a minute. He's like, I can be a bigger game than that. Hold my beer.
Well, speaking of beer, we're going to take a quick commercial. So give us a moment here. We're going to be right back and take a little commercial break here and pay some bills.
Listen, shout out to my man Terrence from Chicago's Clubhouse podcast, from the Moore's Brewing Company here in Chicago, Illinois. All right, we got bros out here putting out this for the Moors. It's tasty. I didn't even have to come on here lying about this. All right, this tastes like what I like when I drink a beer. I don't drink a beer often because I'm too big and I need to stay off of carbonated drinks. But this is the carbonated drink you need to open up and crack and take a sip. All right, if you want to come out of the dark ages, be educated. All right, get you some of this Moore's brew right here. It's definitely tasty. You can get it in Kimbark and High Park.
Whoa. I thought we were a team. Where's Mines? And when are we getting in Tempe, Arizona?
I guess we're going to have to find out, man. But everybody out there, for here in Chicago, go to Kimbark and pick you up some Moors.
Next time I'm in Chicago, I got to go look for that shit. So
Yeah, what the hell? I don't know what that was, but it's about Tempe, Arizona. Maybe I have to go there and check it out.
well, he was asking when it was going to get there. I don't know if it ever got there, but it's established out of Chicago, just kind of like how some of our beers are from Arizona. So,
Okay.
So,
I mean,
but
I'm not opposed. I'm not opposed to liking beers.
I heard the porter one's the best one. So from most of the other guys that have tried it. So next time I'm in Chicago, I try it. Yeah, apparently. So well, now that we're done with the first round, guys, doesn't mean like those were the only good ones. There was quite a few good players picked in the second round as well. Yeah. Out of these few here, there's only about 4. Which one do you think will be the better, like sneakier pick at the end? We have Keon Coleman out of Florida State. He went to Buffalo. Ladd McConkey went to San Diego, or not San Diego, I'm sorry, the Chargers. And then Jalen Polk went to the Patriots. And then Adon Mitchell out of Texas went to the Colts. So out of those ones, who do you think would have the best opportunity there to kind of
honestly, like I like that kid from Florida State going to Buffalo. I like that. I think that's a sneaky great pick for them, especially using Gabe Davis and
Diggs
and Diggs. Yes, and I was gonna say and Diggs. So I think that's somebody that I was honestly looking at when we were watching the draft party. That when he was still available, I thought that's who we're talking about, wide receiver, that someone was going to go for, because he had a pretty dang good season last year when the QB was healthy. So I did watch a couple of Florida State games, and he stood out. He stood out with his size, his speed, his catchability, and everything that he brought to the game. Like normally, like he was making a highlight reel, like every ESPN. We were watching. If I didn't watch a game, he was somewhere, making a play somewhere in every highlight reel that I watched. So I think with the fact that they were talking for years that how eventually they're gonna have to reload in Buffalo. As long as you got Josh Allen, you're just still gonna be competitive. But the saga with Stephon Diggs and everything going on with him, I think that obviously needed to happen. They needed to get rid of him. He was being toxic to the team.
Right.
And Davis, I thought, was someone they were going to keep, and they didn't. So, with this kid coming in, I think he can have he could be a sneaky stash type of pick that you want, like in a later round. I think that's something that you would look at him because I think they're going to do a lot of two tight end type of stuff. They both got Kincaid and the other tight end that they do have. I think that they're going to do stuff like that. I mean, and Cook came on last year, so
Yes.
he showed that he could be an every down running back and be a primary running back. So I think the fact that they don't have a much on the outside, I think he could be someone that you might want to think about like in the later rounds to look at, depending on what you drafted. You never know, because if you got a 3 wide receiver league or even a 2 wide receiver league,
Mhm.
you would probably look at someone who's going to get opportunities, and I think someone's going to get opportunities. Josh Allen's still going to want to throw down the field. That's just what he wants to do. He's not a dinker dunker type of guy. He's an old Ben Roethlisberger type of guy. He's going to shake 2 or 3 guys and look down the field and try to throw it. And Stephon Diggs dominated the attempts. The past 3 or 4 years. Guy was having 120 catches a year. So
Right.
those attempts got to go somewhere now. They're still going to throw the ball around. So I think he's someone that you could look at and someone who's going to pop the top off and he's going to be wide open and he has the speed to break away from people. Catch it that 10, 15-yard slant and then, seam route and take off. Especially for fantasy because you want those bonus points for fantasy. So.
Yeah, a lot of, especially if you're in the league, that does give out bonus points for either yards or say they give out bonus plays for big time plays like plays over 50 yards or something like that.
Yes, I think it'd be a PPR in a PPR league. I think he's someone that's going to get 8 or 9 looks, so he's going to get 5 or 6 touches and be someone that's going to be close to 100 yards and maybe a touchdown here and there. So I think he's a sneaky pick to look at. For me, that's someone I would pay attention to in the later rounds. Because there's just not the cover's bared over there, you know what I mean? So there's no one's that they're gonna look at down the field.
Correct, and that which makes sense. I'm having trouble. The 2 that I'm kind of going back and forth between was Ladd McConkey and Adon Mitchell. Mitchell was one of those receivers that a lot of experts or people were thinking that he was going to go earlier than what he did. He was going to go before a lot of Coleman and a lot of these other names and stuff.
Yes.
So Mitchell's a good size there, but I'm just hearing a lot of good stuff about McConkey and stuff. And then LA has avoided the receiver position with getting rid of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams.
Yes,
so
that's another one. The offense is going to be interesting only because they lost a lot, and. But with Harbaugh, Harbaugh has a lot of expectations with them coming in. So I mean, and they got Herbert, they're gonna want to, they're still gonna want to spin the ball around. They're still gonna want to move it around and do a lot of stuff. I mean, losing Eckler and you can say Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, that they had decent stuff around them because those guys once again never stayed healthy. So that's another opportunity for another young kid to step in right away and get a lot of touches because I still think Herbert's going to throw the ball like 30 to 35 times a game,
Okay.
especially now. So without Eckler, then not taking so many touchdowns away from everybody else, there's opportunity for everybody else to come in and make an impact, especially a rookie like that type of team, because play action pass I think has become a lot more prevalent for that team because that's something that Harbaugh likes to do. He wants big boys up front. He wants to pound the ball, and I think that's going to make the decision making so much easier for Herbert, and to have someone down the field, to catch those passes. I think he's going to have a few highlight reel. We're going to see a couple of ESPN top 10s from him that kid this year too.
Well, and the other good thing with him as far as the guy that got last year, Quentin Johnson, he didn't look good at all at any point in the season. People were thinking maybe
No,
towards
like
the end of the season he'll kind of turn it on and whatnot. But
he
dropped a lot
looked.
of passes.
He did. I picked him up thinking he would have that because I had I didn't have Keenan Allen in that one.
Williams.
I had Williams, and he had like 3 or 4 games where he was just 30 points, and it was like just blowing up for me. And then he got hurt, like he always does, and it killed my league. It killed my team for a few weeks until I scramble mode and do some waiver picks and do something like that to recoup my losses when it comes to him. So yeah, they have some wide receivers that have potential and might do some stuff, and unless those guys actually step up this year, because I mean they're young too. Like the outside,
looking at their
that wide receiver room is young. That wide receiver room is really young right now.
Looking at their depth chart, I mean, the receiver right here, Joshua Palmer, outproduced Quentin Johnson. As far, and he wasn't even a guy that was like looked at.
No, but he had more highlight reels than Quentin Johnson. And Quentin Johnson was supposed to be the same mold, like the 6'3", whatever type of guy, like Mike Williams, and Palmer had some good moments. He had some good, I think he had like a 20-something point game, 25-point game last year, like a few times. But then he'd come back and give you a 3-point game. I seen it because I had him on my bench. So he would look good, and I'm like, damn, that guy was on my bench. And then the next week I was like, I didn't play him. I'm like, he gave me, 2 catches for like 10 yards, and I'm like, I'm glad I didn't play him. So,
right.
Those guys were super inconsistent. And that's what I'm saying. That wide receiver room is very young, so that kid has opportunities there on a team with a big arm cornerback who's also young. With I mean, you can say whatever Jim Harbaugh is the offensive guru or not, but I mean the guy, wherever he's gone, his teams, whether it's been in college or the pros, like they're putting up 30 points a game. So it's going to come from somewhere.
Yeah, and you definitely know from experience as far as how Harbaugh runs his offense.
Yeah, because no one had it better than us for a while.
Yeah, you guys.
They won a Super Bowl, but no one had it better than us for a while. So yes, I definitely know. Like I remember Jim Harbaugh very well. He's definitely a fun coach of mine. So it was hard to see him go,
and to be honest,
he did his thing in Michigan. So
yeah, no, he got his what he wanted to accomplish. He got it done in Michigan for sure. He wanted to bring respect back to his alma mater and a championship, and he definitely did that all within his 9 years there. He did it within 10 years, so that's awesome. Good for him. So, but I was looking at their chart as well. I'd probably be more inclined to take a chance on a player like Brendan Rice, another rookie guy that came out of USC.
I mean, I mean, I would. I mean, he's a 7th round pick. Honestly, right. I mean, he has the bloodlines. And I heard reports that Jerry Rice is like, I'm gonna take over your workouts and do all this stuff, but you got to see it, because I mean, last year, if he would have been any better than what he was, Caleb Williams would have looked a lot better. I mean, there would have been a great 1-2 punch. So the fact that he didn't have a great, senior year or whatever he had at USC, it kind of makes me pause what he's going to have in the NFL. I mean, once again, he might get that opportunity because of attrition and lack of productivity from the other guys. So he might just be like, well, we have no other freaking options. Just throw this kid out there and see what he does. He might surprise people. You never know. There's plenty of low round draft picks that's come into the league and made an impact on a team, especially this team. I think is pretty young on the offensive side now. So when it comes to skill position now.
Yeah, there's always diamonds in the rough in every draft. So you just got to be finding them. So.
I mean, because you think about it, like losing Eckler and Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, they were veteran players. So, I mean, they've been in the league for a while. So right now, that team on the offensive weapon side has gotten a lot younger. So we'll see how that pertains into production. Because I mean, like I said, Jim Harbaugh has always been someone who's want to put up points. He's wanted to be, tough, run the ball and play action pass and do things, and he's had players to do it for him before. So if these guys want to step up, he's going to play them. He's going to play whoever's productive. And if they're not, they're going to sit there and they won't be there very long.
Well, if he likes to run the ball, it'll be interesting to see how it goes for the Chargers, just because looking at their running backs, they have Gus Edwards as their main guy, and then behind them is J.K. Dobbins, and then Isaiah Spiller is behind him there. So it's just like those guys, I mean, they both
let them stay healthy.
Baltimore.
And let them stay healthy.
Crazy.
Oh, way too easy, exactly. So I mean, that's the only reason I was saying like the fact that they might be throwing the ball a lot because they can't depend on who's going to be in the backfield. And that's something that Harbaugh likes to do. He likes to run the ball. So we'll see how that affects Herbert, because obviously he's someone else who has a lot of hype, and be coming out of college to be the next one, and he's shown potential to be something, but hasn't gone over the hump. I mean, he throws for 4,500 yards and 30 touchdowns, and they're still a 500 team and I'm missing the playoffs. So
yeah, but I mean, true, and real NFL wise, that matters. But when you come to fantasy and you just want the stats,
but that's my point. That's my point. Is like, so like he's behind a lot, so that's where he gets a lot of his a lot of his yards are coming because they're down by 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. So like,
hero ball. Yeah.
So I mean, like he has 150 yards and going into the third quarter, almost he comes out with 330 with 3 touchdowns. So it's like I'm saying, like it's interesting because they're going to be throwing the ball a lot. I think so. That's how I feel, because I don't think that running back room is going to stay healthy for very long. So
right, yeah, I agree. I can definitely see they're going to need a lot of band-aids in that running back room. So enough. Well, besides these the rookie receivers, the main guys like Justin Jefferson, how much does his like him holding out affect you as far as where you would want feel comfortable picking him? Like, does that change anything at all as long as they get the deal done, or if it starts bleeding into where he's missing?
No, I mean, I think just like Brandon Ayuk, I think he's obviously probably the best wide receiver in the game. I mean, you could obviously argue, between Jamar Chase and Tyreek Hill and still probably CeeDee Lamb, Devonta Adams. I mean, like you could, depending on any given week, these guys are going to go for like 220 and 3 touchdowns and 5 or 6 receptions and give you a damn 50-point game. They all can do it. So I mean, that's someone if I have a top 3 pick, I'm still going to probably pick him depending on who gets picked ahead of him. As a running back, or like once again, if it's a 3 wide receiver league or a 2 wide receiver league, I'm still going to keep him because he's going to come back at some point in time. And
so
the only thing that kind of worries me is his quarterback. He doesn't have Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins was on fire. Kirk Cousins was on fire last year. And he has been for the past few years. And Addison coming in kind of alleviates some of the double coverage that he was getting. I mean, that guy was triple covered. I mean, a few times. I forgot what game it was, and the guy went and got like a 3-finger tip catch in the middle of nowhere for them to win a game. So if he's covered, he's not covered. That's a you just throw it up and give it to him. So we'll see how Sam Darnold does with him if they get any time. So that is more. That's something more along the lines that I would look at, only because Sam Darnold hasn't been with them like Kirk Cousins was with them for the past few years. Them not being together for a few weeks, whatever. I think it would take a few weeks of practice, and they would have been saying it would hit the ground running. Sam Darnold might be a little different, and that part of the case too, because they got JJ McCarthy. If he has a couple bad games, now you got a rookie quarterback trying to throw to Jet and throw to Addison out there. So that kind of, depending on if they start 0-3, and then the grumblings start coming up, and then they start doing the whole, QB carousel, that kind of makes you want to pause when you want to bring in someone like, especially if you got a top pick in the draft. That might make me want to go to a running back. Maybe see if I'm at the back end, if I'm in, like, depending from a 12 or a 10 league team, and a bunch of people have gotten picked, then I probably would take Jet if I was like 8 or 9, and just stash him there, because then I would double up and get another wide receiver on the way back. And depending on who it was, then they might get like a Tyreek Hill or a Jamar Chase or something like that. To like, okay, if he's gone for like the first 2-3 weeks of the year, then I would definitely put him there and do something like that. Because then if he's going to come back, then now you got two wide receivers are going to lead your team hopefully into the playoffs.
Right. Well, and looking at the other main receivers there, like JJ has his issues because one, I am a little bit worried about like the holdout situation. Typically, sometimes guys that do that, once they finally get like their contract shit established,
That's soft tissue.
Hamstring
soft
issues,
tissue.
yes.
Soft tissue.
Yes.
Soft tissue.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's
soft tissue.
so annoying to deal with, especially with the hammies, because those things fucking linger. So, and then I look at the other guy, Hill, like, which he's had great years, and it's just like, okay, is he going to have another one? Like, he kind of started to get injured last season. He's getting older. He's getting to his 30s, so it's just like, okay. And then
but I mean, the good thing about him is like
Tua.
It's like his speed kills, and his I don't see him slowing down anytime soon. Like, his size is one thing, but he's also like, he's built thick. He's like a little bowling ball. So
I know he's motivated to be. He's motivated.
I never seen him take a lot of big hits. Yes, and I think he would have done it last year, but I think the team just slowed down at the end. I think the whole team took the last 6-7 weeks just took a step back. I mean, they were on fire in the beginning of the year. I mean, that's 70 points on. That's some college stuff. You know what I mean? Like, how many times has
the good thing is he does have someone like Waddle to take some pressure off of him as well.
And now with Odell there, like, you really can't slide coverage to one person, because then the other guys are going to go off. And I mean, Odell is a great 3 because I think he still has some gas in the tank. So I mean, Jalen Waddle's another one.
Oh, they need at least 10 healthy games out of Odell to make it worth it. If they don't at least get that, if he goes down and he only plays about 4 or 5 games, that's not going to be it's not going to work the way that
it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Yeah, because you want to have impact on the actual like game plan week to week when it comes to NFL teams deciding like who do we take away. I mean, but Jalen Waddle hasn't stayed healthy either, so that's another thing. You know what I mean? Like, and it's their team as a whole doesn't stay healthy. The running backs don't stay healthy either. A-Chain and Mostert took a lot of time off. So I mean, we'll see how
concussions.
Well, he stayed healthy last year. He stayed away from concussions, and he showed that he played healthy for most of the year, and he's shown that he's, actual NFL quarterback. So I mean, that's something that you gotta take into consideration, because he was on fire in the beginning of the year. I mean, he had the MVP, buzz around him. It's just the defense start taking, major losses, and that's another team that they gotta see who's going to be in a lot of shootouts. So that's someone you want to think about too, because they lost, a lot of defensive players that weren't on a defense that wasn't very good last year anyway. So I mean, if they're going to win games, they're going to win games 40-40, 42-41, or 35-30. So that's another thing you got to think about. Like, they're going to be throwing a lot. There's going to be a lot of options. Yeah, going to be a lot of shootouts. I mean, you definitely don't want their defense on your fantasy league, but you're definitely going to want their offensive players on there too. I mean, I had A-Chain with 50 points on my bench. So
yeah,
he came out of nowhere, and I was like, "What the hell?" That definitely sucked. So I mean, that's something you got to think about.
The only time you don't mind the bench points is if you're in a close game, because then if it comes down, at least in our league, if it comes down to a tie, we go look at the bench points. But it is frustrating to see a shit ton of points on your bench.
It does suck.
I think the only one the one I kind of like the best out of the main guys that we talked about there is Jamar Chase, just because I think he's the next one in line to kind of take over those guys.
Yeah,
having a good guy like Joe Burrow throwing him the ball. They had the college rapport right from the
college buddy, man. They're on top of the world in LSU, and they actually make it to Super Bowls and stuff like that. and taking care of business. I mean, the only thing that they just didn't win it, but
Right.
Joe Burrow's got to stay healthy. I mean, that's obviously another big issue when it comes to wide receivers. Like, it's great when you got the quarterback, but if he's not there, then the backup absolutely matters, especially when it comes to fantasy. Like, now this guy goes from like, a 20, 25 point option to like maybe he might get a touchdown and save my day, give me 15 points. You know what I mean? And it's hard. It's hard when you your number one gives you 15 points. Gives you 11 points. That absolutely sucks. It kills your week when your number one running back and your number one wide receiver don't give you shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're only hoping that your kicker and your defense does something. And if that's what you're waiting for in a week, then you're probably losing by like 30 or 40 points.
No, I agree. Typically, your first round pick, your second round picks, you're hoping to get on average, at minimum, at least like 18 to 20 points. And that's the minimum. But preferably, you want them like 25, 29, in the 30s even. So those
especially
are the horses.
Because then you start depending on your bench when these guys start going on waivers. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So you want to win. You want to win early. The beginning of the year, you want to go 4-1, 5-1. You want to get out the gate quick because when waivers start coming up, and depending on your league, how your waivers are, your bye weeks, you know what I mean? Your bench comes in and you start picking up people and doing different things, you know what I mean? You're not going to have your number one guys all the time. And then heaven forbid you don't pay attention to your bye weeks. You got 2 or 3 of your main people out in the same week. You know what I mean? Like, you need to pay attention to these other things that come up. That's when it comes to matchups and different stuff. So you want to start early and you want to have your main guys, hit when it's time to hit because you need them to when they're playing. Those weeks that you might not have everybody, you can use.
Do you pay attention to that a lot during your fantasy drafts as far as like, I don't want to make sure I have too many guys that have the same bye week, or do you just draft and then you just figure it out later just because of injuries and stuff?
I'll do both. I'll pay attention to the beginning. I'm just trying to get the best available people. I don't care what week they're off or what's going on. But then when I start looking at my bench and I start looking at the second people who are going to take over and do things, then if I see 2 players that are pretty similar in what I think they're going to be for production, then I'm going to look at their bye weeks, and I'm going to say, if I got 6 players off on bye week, then I'm not going to keep them at the end of the year anyway because I'm going to drop them to go get somebody else. So what's the point of drafting them early or drafting them at all?
Right.
I might as well pick someone that I'm going to keep on my roster when I actually need them. But like I said, when my first or second or even my third, options are on bye weeks, is obviously you never know that 4 or 5 guys are off in week 7, and I'll play the number one guy in the league. Like I want to try and hopefully that he has 2 or 3 guys gone too. Maybe I can still win. And maybe my second tier guys are better than his second tier guys.
Yeah.
So it makes because then you never know, because then if you're on waiver wire options and then you're like the 8th or 9th person in waiver, then it sucks because you're not going to get the guy you wanted anyway. So now you're really fucked. You got no one, and you're picking whoever you can to fill a body and fill a spot. Now you're going to get killed because you didn't draft well for your bench, and now you can't get nobody on waivers, and now you're going to get stomped. And what makes it even worse is then later in the year, if that person you're playing is not the number one, it's like the 5th or 6th person or whatever, and it might be the time that you could have won by a few more points if you would have drafted better, and now you're out looking in on coming to the playoffs because you didn't draft well, or even worse, when it comes to it, you didn't score enough points. Now you're freaking getting screwed because you didn't score enough points to get the tiebreaker.
Yeah. That doesn't happen too often in our league, but every once in a while when there's a tie and you kind of have to look.
Well, the bench points. It happens a lot in our league where when week 12 comes in, a lot of people that are like 6-6 and 5-7 or whatever. You know what I mean? There's a few people that are pulling away, and there's a few people that are haven't won a game yet. So you know what that's like. But I'm just saying, I'm not going to bring up old stuff.
Yeah, I definitely know what that's like. So, but we don't need to talk about that right now.
I'm just saying.
I think. Well, we're about a little over an hour into it. We kind of hit the major points that we wanted to do. We'll go ahead and start ending the show here now. I want to thank you. Is there any, give it up to you. Is there any shout outs or anything you want to last minute advice or anything like that is for our fantasy football viewers or anything?
I mean, as it comes out to it, I mean, shout out to myself. You know, the rest of you guys, I'm gonna play in a few months. Fuck all you guys, I'm gonna come for your ass. I was in a championship game last year, and McCaffrey got sat down, so I was pissed because I should have won that championship game. But I'm gonna come back strong, and I mean, just do your
Have
homework,
you won
man.
a championship before? Have you won a fantasy
No,
championship before in any league?
no. And I have before, not in our league yet. No, not in our league yet, but. I was like, I've been close. I've been not. I was like, I was one of those things. I've been knocking at the door. I've been in the Final Four. I've been in a championship game, but I haven't won it yet. And then McCaffrey's freaking growing pissed me off because I would have won the damn fucking game. So I was like, son of a bitch. But it is what it is. And, that's the beauty of fantasy leagues. You never know, and your number one guy goes down in the second quarter, and all of a sudden you're just hoping that your kicker freaking gives you 30 points.
Somehow, yeah. Unless you got a kicker like Butker or Tucker or something like that. Good luck.
Yeah, you never know. Yeah, you never know. I mean, but definitely do your homework. Like I said, most of us are in the same league with the same people for a few years, so how people draft. People go. Every once in a while, you get a little surprise when someone drafts someone like in the first round. Mahomes goes like the third pick or something stupid. But other than that, you know.
Yeah, sometimes people get a hard on for a certain player, and they're just like, "I'm going to make sure I get this motherfucker." So, I don't care. I don't care who the fuck says what. Yeah. I'm getting my guy. So,
exactly. You know what? I mean, it worked out for Chaka. Chaka went over there and got Mahomes, and won a championship.
Yeah. One time. That was one time, motherfucker. One time. Don't think it's happening again.
Well, no, fuck him. But whatever.
Well, I want to thank y'all for tuning in as well. The viewers that tune in and watch, we really do appreciate it. Next time, if you guys do come in, don't be shy. Don't be a
L for love. Good times.
Or a lurker.
What the hell was that? That's a commercial break.
For those lurkers and stuff in the chat and stuff. So don't be so shy. Drop a comment next time, or at the very least, please give a big thumbs up for us. So, but as for the mouth, this is the Crooked Commish. We do appreciate you tuning in.
Absolutely,
and
having fun.
Join us.
First time, too many more.
Yes, we'll love to have you back again, Mouth. Whenever you're available, please come back again and give us your opinions. We always love to hear it.
Salute.
All right. Cheers. Take it easy, everybody. Remember, be good or be good at it.
This has been a Chicago Clubhouse Network production.